In part 1 of this video, we busted the 4 common myths holding FP&A professionals back. If you haven't watched that video already, go and first watch that and then come back to this second part. We saw why FP&A is the fastest lane to CFO today and walk through the scale framework. The 5 skills every future CFO must master: strategic visibility, cross functional collaboration, accounting foundation, leadership, and executive presence. Now, in this second part, let us go deeper into how to sequence these skills, the roadmap successful CFOs followed, and the real stories that prove this path works. But you don't have to take my word for it. There are real life examples that show how FP&A backgrounds have led directly to the CFO roles. These career paths illustrate how planning experience, when paired with strategic thinking, becomes the foundation boards are looking for. Take Ann Gugino for example. She moved from FP&A at Target to the CFO role at Papa John's without ever holding a traditional accounting job. What sets her apart was her ability to turn analysis into operational advice, identifying underperforming stores, then recommending changes that directly improve performance. Kate Booker followed a different route, starting in FP&A at Akamai before becoming a CFO of HubSpot. Her defining moment came when she used forecasting to model HubSpot's pivot to a subscription revenue model. By showing exactly how recurring revenue would strengthen the company in the long term, she proved her ability to lead with vision and not just data. Jason Child's career began in Amazon FP&A team, where he worked on international expansion planning and modeled billion-dollar scenarios. That experience carried forward when he became CFO at Splunk, where he had led acquisition strategies using the same scenario planning expertise. His judgment in weighing investments directly came from high-stakes modeling work developed in FP&A. Next, Rana Zia transitioned from Banana Republic's FP&A team to CFO role at Pressbarn by becoming an expert in retail unit economics. She mastered which levers, product mix, inventory turns, and margins drove performance. That specialized operational fluency made her the voice executives turn to during a company turnaround, proving that industry depth within FP&A can outweigh a more generalist finance background. Looking at all these examples, you could say, though these paths differ, the pattern is very clear. Each of these leaders used FP&A not just to inform leadership, but to drive specific business actions, whether that are meant optimizing store operations, reshaping revenue models, planning expansion plays, or steering a turnaround. They showed initiative early, built influence through cross functional work, and shaped decisions that directly moved the business forward. Now, while these stories show the strength of an FP&A starting point, they also highlight what comes next, broadening your exposure across finance so you build the kind of versatility that board expects from a modern CFO. The next step most future CFOs overlook is building what's often called a finance passport. Just like stamps in a real passport show where you have been, these stamps show the range of finance experience you've collected. The strongest leaders have breadth, exposure to accounting, treasury, tax, investor relations, and audit, without the need to rotate formally through every department. Think of it as practical routine. You don't need a new role to get those stamps. You can start small. Ask to assist with the monthly close once per quarter so that you can see how accounting flows connect to your forecast, or volunteer for a capital allocation or integration work group. These short term commitments expose you to treasury or M&A thinking while keeping you anchored in FP&A. One FP&A director at a tech firm joined 3 acquisition integrations in under 2 years, gaining critical experience without leaving his FP&A planning seat. Some professionals even schedule a regular rotation block in their week. Jeff Marks, who later became a Fortune 500 CFO, used to spend Friday afternoons shadowing different finance groups, tax one week, treasury the next, and audit the week after. You can adapt this by setting aside 90 minutes every other Friday to pair with a colleague in a different function. Over time, this adds up to real fluency across the finance spectrum. Now, the point here isn't to skim the surface of every area. Shallow exposure doesn't impress anyone. What matters is connecting each new perspective back to your FP&A models. If you sit with the treasury team, note how changes in working capital feed into your forecasts. If you learn a new tax principle, record how it shifts the timing of cash flows in your finance projections. A healthcare FP&A manager who studied supply chain financing used that knowledge to show senior leaders exactly how payment terms shaped the working capital needs because she had tied it back to her planning work. To make this actionable, keep a simple passport log. For every new experience, jot down one sentence on what you learned and one sentence on how it changed your modeling or insights. This creates clear evidence you can use in interviews, performance reviews, or promotion discussions. These habits sharpen your perspective and give you credibility in complex decisions. But as broad as these experiences are, they are also being shaped by something new: the rapid spread of technology across finance. Technology is now reshaping how FP&A professionals build careers, and AI has become one of the biggest accelerators. Instead of threatening jobs, automation is cutting down repetitive tasks and giving analysts more freedom to work on decisions that shape the company's strategy. FP&A professionals who embrace these changes are moving towards CFO readiness much faster than before. In many companies, tools like Anaplan, Adaptive Insights, and Workday automate a large share of routine budgeting activities that once consumed countless hours. Rather than spending weeks pulling numbers together, analysts now review outputs and focus on what the results actually mean. At a major retailer, machine learning generates baseline sales forecasts, while the team spends its time figuring out why some stores outperform and how to scale those lessons. That shift allows FP&A staff to develop executive level judgment earlier in their careers. Visualization tools such as Power BI and Tableau add another layer of speed. One tech company cut its reporting cycle from 2 weeks to just a few days by automating routine data pulls. It freed up hours that then went into building predictive models for a new product launch, a project that directly supported the executive decision. You can replicate this by taking a routine report that normally takes days to prepare, trimming it down into a clear 5-minute so what summary, and then using the time saved to experiment with a forward looking model in your own area. Research backs up why this matters for career progression. Studies by John Loddy shows finance professionals who frame their insights as business narratives are far more likely to earn promotions than those who rely on raw numbers alone. With AI handling much of the data prep, your ability to explain what the numbers mean and what decision should follow becomes the key differentiator. The real advantage lies in the balance. Learn the tools well enough to ask sharper questions, but remember the judgment is yours. Platforms like Cube, Vena, or Tableau can speed access to insights, but it still takes your business fluency to interpret outcomes and recommend action. In fact, research examples show automation opening space for analysts to develop predictive models for product launches or risk scenarios, work that used to belong exclusively to senior finance leaders. As this shift continues, one capability stands out even more: the analysts who turn technical findings into clear, confident communication are the ones seen as future executives. Executive presence is often the deciding factor that separates an FP&A manager from someone the board sees as the future CFO. It is not about being the most vocal person in the room. It is about how you frame your insights so leaders pay attention and, most importantly, take action. The best analysis in the world won't move the needle if the way it is delivered fails to influence the decisions. Research from Ron Monteiro on CFO leadership highlights 5 key traits that define executive presence: clarity of thought, calmness under pressure, strategic perspective, decisiveness, and credibility. Out of these five, only credibility depends mostly on technical accuracy. The rest are about how you behave under uncertainty and guide others with confidence. Think of this below as your checklist. Are you making complex ideas clearer? Are you staying steady during tense discussions? Are you able to link details to the strategy? Are you stating recommendations directly? And are you staying trustworthy? You can build these traits through practice and not theory. Start with a repeatable routine. For the next 1 month, format every presentation around 3 key takeaways and one recommended action item. Instead of walking executives through 10 data slides, try: here are the three choices we face, and this is the action which I recommend. Leaders don't just want numbers, they want decisions framed. Executives reward this clarity with more invitations to high level strategy discussions. Real careers prove how this is played out. An FP&A manager struggling to make an impact shifted her approach by simplifying her slides, focusing on headline trade offs and naming one next action step. In weeks, she was asked into the planning sessions normally reserved just for VPs. Another manager spotted declining margins in a product line. Instead of filling a report, she met directly with the operations team, suggested a design change, and then followed up after it improved the costs. This kind of cross functional problem solving showed CFO level influence long before she managed a team. Here is a practical exercise that you can try out tomorrow. Explain your next variance analysis to a colleague outside of finance. If they can repeat back the business meaning in plain language, you have succeeded. Keep tracking results. A simple metric is whether executives adopt one of your recommendations each quarter, or whether you are earning more invitations to strategic meetings. These small but consistent wins build a career narrative of someone ready for a C suite. And when you combine this presence with technical and strategic strengths of FP&A, the path ahead becomes clearer than ever. FP&A is one of the strongest paths to the CFO role because of its forward looking perspective and cross functional reach. The key to turning that advantage into promotions is the scaled framework, building visibility, fluency, and presence that leadership teams can't ignore. Here is your next move. Do one scale action this week. For example, add a prospective recommendation to your next report instead of only presenting numbers. That small step is how you start building a CFO ready story inside of your current role. And remember, nearly half of the today's CFOs came through from FP&A roles. If this video has helped you, subscribe for more weekly FP&A career strategies and drop a comment what one scale action you will commit to this week. Thank you so much for watching. Do check out the resources to FP&A books, videos, and courses in the description below. I will see you in the next video.